also, hello. So on this video today, what we're going to be discussing is how to improve your mental health while we're in lockdown. If you haven't already, please subscribe, leave a comment below if you've got any questions, say what you've liked about the video, and I hope you really enjoy it. My first tip is to develop an early night sleep cadence. A lot of people, because of lockdown, are not in a routine with going to work. Most people would naturally go to bed early, wake up early. There is no structure in place. People's sleeping pattern goes completely out of whack. Get to bed at 4, 5, 6 in the morning, only getting a few hours sleep, sleeping in all the next day, not doing anything productive, which actually might lead then to higher levels of self-esteem and taking care of your physical and mental health as well. What studies actually show is that people who go to bed, usually in the parameters of 9 p.m. till midnight, usually get some form of deeper sleep. So they have less interrupted sleep, which then leads to a highly more productive day the next day. You engage in things that boost your self-esteem, like physical activity and eating better, and you're less likely then to have higher levels of anxiety and depression. What studies actually show is that a lot of people who have successful sleep usually have some form of early night bedtime routine. So they begin to start turning off technology, lowering the music down, turning off lights. High levels of stimulation before bed usually promotes the body to feel more awake, and then that can further disrupt sleep in the middle of the night. So by turning technology off, it actually increases melatonin, which helps you sleep more, signals to the body that it's nighttime now, it's time to wind down, and it has a more restorative effect. My second tip is to make your bed in the morning. You can actually find this clip on YouTube. I can't remember the name of the guy off the top of my head. A gentleman from the army goes into a university to give a speech. He basically says in order for you to change the world, you must first start by making your bed. And the reason why this is so effective is it sets you up to have an early win at the first point of your day. You can wake up and make your bed, and visually it looks tidy, it looks organized, and that can then promote the feeling, if done consistently, the feeling of discipline, that I have some form of control of my life and coherence. I can actually affect this in every area of my life. I can do this one small thing here, I can do it out here. Also, there is a lot of studies on mental health and decluttering in general. Correlationally, people usually who make their bed are usually more happier in life than people who don't. Studies actually show as well, I think it's the British Sports Journal of Medicine, actually goes on to say that people who actually engage in some form of physical activity 20 minutes a day usually have forms of lower levels of anxiety, lower levels of depression, but they don't specify what form of physical activity. They actually go on to say that could be actually cleaning. So you could actually engage in 20 minutes of cleaning and promote the same feelings of low levels of anxiety, and actually promoting feelings of self-accomplishment as well, that you've got some form of discipline in your life, some form of control that you can positively affect your life. Looking at things that are untidy sometimes promote the internal feeling of chaos. By having things in order, especially things which are in your control, your thoughts, words, your actions, especially within your own home, it only promotes a more restorative effect, and it promotes more of a relaxation effect as well. Always in the back of your mind when you need to do something, especially cleaning. So I would highly recommend making your bed in the morning, and then you can change the world. My third tip is to prevent morning rumination. Rumination is basically where you begin to continually recycle the stressful events over and over again in the process of trying to find some form of resolution to resolve the trauma or the distressing event. The problem with this is it doesn't actually resolve anything. Thinking over something over and over and over and over again only takes up time and space in your head and time away from doing things that are more productive, that can increase your self-esteem, physical health and social well-being. Rumination in and of itself, and actually recycling distressful events, there is no form of action involved, no form of active problem solving. I highly recommend, if you struggle with morning rumination, when you first wake up, you start thinking about all the distressful and difficulties of the day, what I would recommend doing instead is actually waking up straight away. Rather than sitting in bed, meet that resistance head on. As soon as you wake up, get out of bed, go do something, go make a coffee, and prevent that rumination altogether. So having some form of pattern interrupt and some form of positive distraction can actually be quite beneficial. As a long-term strategy towards rumination, what I would highly recommend doing is focusing on self-compassion. What the literature actually shows, a large portion of rumination, if you're bouncing between two different ideas, that can cause rumination as well. So what I would focus on is accepting ambivalence, that you can have multiple emotions and multiple feelings all at the same time. You need to try and resolve everything all at once. You're trying to not just side with your inner critic all the time, but you're trying to create this kind of invincible partnership with yourself, that you're always trying to have your own back, you're always having your own best interest. Now obviously you will have time in your life where you start questioning yourself, judging yourself. The idea is to try and snap back out of that as quickly as you can. Try and partner with yourself. Don't be so unforgiving and merciless with yourself. I call this dethroning the inner critic's power over the psyche. My next tip is not to focus on watching so much negative news. Because of the coronavirus outbreak, there is unbelievably uncharted critical masses of negative news. Talking about chronic levels of death rates isn't a way to improve your mental health. What I would focus on instead is focusing on more positive news, or actually avoiding news altogether. What it actually shows in the DSM-5 psychological manual, in order to gain PTSD, you don't actually necessarily have to be personally involved in the event itself. You can actually just be physically watching an event and gain the symptoms of PTSD. This is actually shown in studies actually looking at journalists who actually report the news and broadcast the news. In turn, they actually got higher levels of PTSD, all the classic symptoms: avoidance, re-experiencing the event, emotional flashbacks, and that led to high levels of anxiety, further levels of trauma and depression. Highly recommend limiting your news. The news in itself is designed to grasp your attention. In this day and age, we're almost promoting attention deficit disorder, where there's all these notifications, everything's trying to grab our attention. The way a lot of media actually gets our attention is through fear. It is a cognitive bias to focus on things that are negative as a survival mechanism, because the body and mind are always trying to move us away from pain and closer towards pleasure. Trying to focus on positive things, the people who've recovered, studies that are coming out promoting ways to prevent coronavirus, maybe things that you were grateful for in your life. Moving on to the last two things. Focus on your nutrition and your exercise. It goes without saying. So many studies, I'm not even going to go on about it because it is so redundant, but do not let yourself go just because we're in lockdown. There are multiple things you can do. I actually do virtual online fitness classes for my personal training clients at the moment, which I also take part in. I noticed my stress is massively reduced. I don't have to wait for people to use different equipment. You are your own gymnasium and your effort is your resistance. So I highly recommend taking part in some form of home workout or going outside. There's so much research on that as well, showing about green light exposure. There are my tips for today. I hope you've enjoyed that video. Please subscribe below, like the video, share it with your friends, and have a nice day.